where it's estimated that 40 crore people from the informal workforce have fallen into deeper poverty. This has resulted in reverse migration to their respective villages from urban to rural, but also we're witnessing the return of semi skilled laborers from overseas, making communities the epicenter for their survival. Pre pandemic surveys had already estimated that 50% of our workforce is dependent on agriculture, though their share of GDP contribution is about 17 to 18%. But without sustainable livelihood options for reverse migrants, there will be greater dependence on agriculture as well as the government schemes and programs for food, health, education just across the sector. Even in comparison to countries classified as the poorest in the world, India's share of public expenditure on health as a percentage of GDP is far lower. Our fragile public health system, which was already overstretched and overburdened, needs deep introspection and significant investment. Capable of adapting to a less certain world post-pandemic, especially for the vulnerable communities, is more critical now than ever. So to be resilient, our communities need accessible and affordable healthcare and job opportunities in the vicinity of their homes. As an organization that has been working across 5 districts of Orissa, we are witnessing the severe impact of job losses, inadequate healthcare, and the overdependence on agriculture. And the central and state governments have been extremely proactive in responding to this pandemic with a focus on both saving lives and livelihoods. Health infrastructure has been augmented, budgetary allocations have been made. Organizations like ours, and ours in particular, has been involved at the ground level, disseminating COVID awareness, steps on responsible behavior, supplementing efforts on preventive health outreach and capacity building for the migrants, the return migrants. But addressing this topic at hand cannot be done by an individual segment of society, whether that's the government, whether that's the industry or development partners. Addressing the existing weaknesses in our system calls for cohesive strategy and collective effort. It is time that all of us reset our organizational strategies and operations, converge with like-minded partners, and pool our resources across sectors. In the words of Henry Ford, coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is a success.
COVID-19 has definitely shown that the people who has migrated from the villages and sort of working in the urban space within the service of the manufacturing sector are the worst hit, and a lot need to be done both this level. So when I say that, I think what I was talking about just before this, that our work, whether it is government or the development sector, has been much more focused towards either on rural or urban. However, there's a continuum between these two, rural and urban. So people from origin, that is the rural, are coming to the destination, that is the urban. And that mix, that junction, we have missed out somewhere. So either we have worked on A or on B, but not been able to match this two. And if you really look at the numbers, almost 70% of the people who have moved out and gone back, the people who have seen on the television sets, they're either semi-skilled or unskilled. The work that need to do at this level is to work on both the level, both rural and urban. When I say urban, we have to understand and work on the work condition of this set of people. We have to work on the rights and entitlements, basic housing and sanitations, all this stuff. People who has come to the cities. On the rural side, I think the potential is much more to work on, because the more we work there, the stress on migration will get reduced substantially. The people who has come back has been exposed to a different set of lifestyle, and when they go back to the villages, or they're coming back to the villages, they're also bringing this knowledge, this exposure as well as the expertise back into the villages. So can we harness that? Is there a way to do that? And if you look at the government support, I think it's apt. These people need to be supported, and there is a potential of creating enterprises in the local area. And so what needs to be done is to support them with finance, support them with business development services, support them with market information and market linkages. And we are doing it in some places, even in Odisha, how to make them resilient. And when I talk about resilient, I'm not only mentioning pandemic, COVID pandemic, that as rightly mentioned by Umaji, there are several other issues. So the climate is one of them. So how do you make them more resilient to all these issues? The primary area that needs focus is agriculture. So there's a need for investment in land and water activities, whether it is more investment on irrigation, whether it is surface water irrigations or groundwater irrigation. Is the need of the hour is to get into integrated farming system models. This integration of agriculture with livestock, with fishery, as well as the local context is extremely essential, which will reduce vulnerability of community. When I say sustainable, I'm talking about local variety of seeds, sustainable agronomic practices, then enriching soil quality, all this stuff. And there is the moment you start doing all this stuff, your resiliency increase in terms of your livelihood. So can we start working on people to help them create a niche, whether it is handloom, handicraft, rural service, rural manufacturing, get into that space and augment their income. So it won't be on agriculture, but also from other sources.
What is the immediate need of the farmer due to pandemic and other say issues, migrant laborers reaching out to their villages, trying to do something and for their livelihood. Overall, our approach to reach out to farmer and the farming is a totally different now. We are coming out, already we have come out from our traditional approach of as a agri input company to a solution provider, say corporate. And our approach is depending on innovation, and innovation means is not only what is available, but how do you innovate the things keeping in view the requirement of the smallholder farmers. How do you customize the innovation for those smallholder farmers? So there is a need of say bringing the people with a similar mindset, similar approach together, and trying to provide a comprehensive, complete solution to the farmers. What we did in the pandemic situation for the rural farmers as well as for the migrant laborers. So we took a global initiative, and India was one major part of that initiative, where we say Better Farm, Better Lives initiative launched after COVID incidents only. In India, we have provided support, direct support in terms of inputs and advisory and training to more than 5 lakh farmers, where we provided them half acre to 1 acre kit as per his requirement in terms of hybrid seeds, in terms of the minimum required crop protection products, nutrition products, and supported by the crop advisory and the training. We are developing the micro irrigation system. One farmer alone cannot afford to adopt a micro irrigation system. We are trying to develop a community which can benefit from the micro irrigation system.
But having said that, one of the things that very early on we knew was that the public health system is weak. We already have a very, very weak public health system, and it was a huge concern when the lockdown came and when this started panning out on how is it that our hinterland is going to really cope with this. And health, and among the other things, we work on water, we work on health, livelihoods, but health is really a very big vertical and a very important part of any well-being and prosperity index where we are concerned. And so this was really uppermost on our minds. Yeah. So really very quickly, within the first maybe 20-30 days of as the corporate participating in the immediate disaster relief, which was much more to do with maybe feeding migrants or the ventilators in the city hospitals and all of that, we shifted our entire attention to how do we create the preparedness in rural back of the beyond areas that we have our programs in. So the way we had to turn it around, instead of our field officers, and believe me, we have a large outfit. So we have about 1,000 people working as team members in the front line itself. But that wasn't enough. And we created a single point of contact or 2 people in every village. So we work in about 2,000 villages. We created these POCs in every village through whom information was being pushed to the entire village throughout the lockdown and even later, and continues even today as we speak. Of course, another very important lever is our relationship with the government itself. We truly believe that no organization can work parallel to the government. We've got to converge and work with the government for all these issues on development that we talk about. We realize mental health is already something that we don't talk about too much in India. And with this panic, with this anxiety, there was a lot of mental health issues that were coming about. And so we trained about 550 frontline leaders of communities who can manage basic, anxiety and stress related issues with their communities and actually create the right kind of referrals.
As the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted all of us in a different way, we should be mindful of the fact that this is not the first and definitely won't be the last pandemics or any epidemics or maybe any emergencies that will hit the mankind. And these kind of pandemics and emergencies, they continue to test the competency of country's healthcare system. In India, the overall GDP expenditure for India is very low, 1.5%. So I would partially agree what Vinita has said, that there are many challenges as far as health systems and services are concerned in our country. And when we say a normal era in the pre-pandemic time, also the health services and health system was in the developing phase, and there were own system challenges. And moreover, this overall health sector is largely driven by the private sector. So the out-of-pocket expenditure is quite high. Now, if I compare it with, say, UK or US, where the OP is somewhere around 16 to 11%. So thankfully, we have some initiations by Government of India under the name of Ayushman Bharat. So WHO is very closely working with Ministry of Health for initiating this COVID response in the country. And we are very actively working on this front, and this actually involves the infrastructural strengthening also. This actually involves the monitoring and evaluation part also. This also involves the logistics strengthening part also. And currently in India, we have somewhere around more than 15,000 COVID treatment facilities and about 1.8 lakh facilities that are available for essential health services. You have to understand the quantum of people that India is dealing with. This actually means that 1.3 billion people in the world's largest democracy, they are demonstrating the solidarity towards the COVID response. So as per the latest official updates, in close collaboration with Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, we have made somewhere around more than 15,000 COVID treatment facilities available. The testing, testing rates have also increased for India. It's somewhere around 1.5 million tests per day that India is doing right now. And there are many positive things apart from that, talking about the essential health services, because India was grappling with the fact that because of the COVID response, the public health system got overburdened. And public health system in India is already, fighting with human resource crunch, the beds crunch. And if we talk about the healthcare sector in India, it's the 4th largest employer in the country, the overall healthcare sector. But the 72% of healthcare facilities are present in 27% of the urban areas. So rural area, the situation is still grim. See, we have to understand this fact that if we need to build a resilient community while adapting towards the post-pandemic challenges, we have to visualize the things from inception. That is the pre-pandemic period, and then there's a pandemic period where we are learning each day, and then there will be a post-pandemic period. So it's actually a journey for what we interpreted as normal earlier and moving towards the new normal. So in that phase, when we were talking about that in the normal era also, in the pre-pandemic era also, we were developing as far as health system is concerned. Our pace was there, but that pace was steady. This pandemic has actually bring in the solidarity in terms of decision making with the state governments, the national governments, and that is a positive thing which I see will help in other emergencies also.
During this pandemic, out of necessity or whatever may be the reason, the schools have been shut down, and so the children are not able to eat their meals. The Akshay Patra is looking at innovating the smaller kitchens, wherein we are able to provide a healthy, nutritious, unlimited meal to the child.